Let me now invite dear friend and colleague Peeyush Sekhsaria from the World Bank. Peeyush is a person of many hidden talents. He's worked with us years ago in Myanmar, where we were together trying to retrofit a truck and turn it into a children's education sort of a center, a mobile center that would go around village to village and open up into an exhibition. I have read his blog piece on how he's been around, going around Varanasi looking for old boatmen who can take him out into the river and show him where to find the almost extinct dolphins. He's recently published a book, amazing pictures that he's taken of Ellora. Highly recommended. Do look him up and find the book. And of course, he's been charging around Nepal in the last 1 year, looking at damaged buildings, working with Rajendra Bhai and others on how to figure ways ahead. Thank you for being here with us, Peeyush, and the floor is yours.
Thanks. That was very generous of you. I'm going to actually put my stop clock and be on time. So we can actually start. Right, so everybody here knows what holistic is. I'll try and break it down into 15 steps to unraveling post-disaster housing reconstruction. So if you know these 15 steps, you've done. Next. So the first step is the disaster event itself. Here on the left you see the Kosi barrage kind of break, and you see the red, which basically defines all the areas that were flooded. On the right hand side, you see the Odisha cyclone Phylon, and below we've got images from the floods in Uttarakhand. Next. The second step typically is a joint rapid damage and needs assessment, where institutions like the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, governments, NGOs will actually go in and based on government data and some field work, will assess what the damages were in different sectors. It's very comprehensive, it covers all sectors. Housing is of course one of them. Next. Then you come and put together a post-disaster reconstruction project. We have 4 projects that we've been working on recently at the bank. The first one actually, in a classical sense, is not a post-disaster reconstruction project, in the sense that we are not building, or we've not built houses that were damaged by the tsunami, but that were vulnerable, and which is why it's called the vulnerability reduction of coastal communities. And I've given some numbers to give you an idea of the kind of scale. We're looking at over 14,000 houses in Tamil Nadu, over 60,000 houses in Bihar, about 2,500 houses in Uttarakhand, and about 17,000 houses in Odisha. Next. So typically when you decide that there is going to be a project that's post-disaster reconstruction, the government has to come up with a housing reconstruction policy. The housing reconstruction policy, at the face of it, looks like a very dry document, especially to architects, because we want to get straight into designing and creating disinfection spaces and looking at the cost. But the housing reconstruction policy actually lays out the overall framework, the rules, regulations, who's going to be a beneficiary, what are the criteria for selection, and so on. So it's a very important document, and if you go search for housing reconstruction policy on the web, you'll find it for Odisha, you'll find it for Tamil Nadu, and I think they're really interesting documents to read because they really lay out how the reconstruction is going to happen. And the absence of housing reconstruction policy, you're going to have all sorts of people coming in and doing all sorts of work, often not coordinated, and that has an impact on the way we sometimes end up not building back better. Step 5. So the housing reconstruction policy will identify the reconstruction approach. I've broadly defined them as owner-driven, contractor-driven, and mixed. Just like Sandeep was talking earlier, the whole focus now is owner-driven. But for example, in Tamil Nadu, we had a case where the communities sort of said that we are happier with contractors building it for us. And we did a sort of mixed approach where you had a third-party NGO coming in and supporting the communities on the social and technical aspect, and also playing a sort of go between the contractor, the government, and beneficiaries. I'll talk a little more about this as we go along. The house on the right that you see is in Tamil Nadu, and the one in the middle in Uttarakhand. and the one on the left is in Bihar. Beneficiary selection is an extremely important part of the whole process. So typically, one of the criteria is that the house is damaged beyond repair by the disaster event, and that would primarily be a post-disaster reconstruction. And you may also decide to include houses that are vulnerable to future disasters, either based on damage or based on their location. So let's say a village is obviously located at a place which has got destabilized by an earthquake in Uttarakhand, and there's going to be a landslide the next time it rains. You ought to think about shifting them out from there. And typically after this beneficiary selection process happens, which is often a very elaborate process, and there's a way in which this can sometimes take very long to finalize, but you will have a more formal part of it where there is actually a signing of agreement between the beneficiary and the government. Typically there will be a bank account that is opened, a joint bank account in the name of the husband and the wife, and the process will actually start by transfer of an advance into this account once the agreement is signed and the process is ratified. Here it's important to kind of understand the beneficiaries are of a diverse nature. On the left, we see a single old woman called Amerika Devi who was on her own. She had no family members, and she was not motivated at all to actually undertake reconstruction post Kosi floods. And on the right side, we see a social mobilizer who actually worked with her and motivated her to undertake reconstruction. So you have highly vulnerable populations within the people that are hit by disasters, and sometimes the people who are the most vulnerable find it the most difficult to rebuild. Next. Then there are questions like, are we going to rebuild in the same location, in situ, or are we going to relocate? Now typically, this depends on criteria like, do people have a clear land title? Is it a land title in dispute? Does it fulfill minimum criteria in terms of maybe size of the land title, and also whether that piece of land itself is not vulnerable to future disasters? And sometimes, or I would say often that's the case, people may not have clear land titles, or they may be located in places that are otherwise vulnerable, and a relocation of families may happen. In most cases, it's government that identifies suitable land parcels for relocation, but you will also have cases where people themselves decide to move out. So we've got cases in Uttarakhand where people in remote villages have said that they want to rebuild their homes, but not in their remote villages. They want to move out closer to Dehradun or Rishikesh. And in these cases, it's people who typically organize themselves. People are not vulnerable, or if they are vulnerable, that vulnerability is mitigated. Next. Typically, a house would be defined broadly as not as a standard design, but as a standard set of non-negotiables, and those non-negotiables will be like minimum area, minimum facilities, or maybe a kitchen, toilet, bath, and of course the rooms, and that this has to be a disaster resilient construction. I'm just giving you a quick snapshot. There are more aspects, but this is broadly what we ensure. So we are not insisting that people build a particular plan, but we are insisting that they achieve these minimum non-negotiables. Next. Then of course there are also enabling mechanisms. So a reconstruction process can take a year longer. So typically a program will give people rent, because they may have to move out of where they stay for a period of a year and longer, and they may have to actually rent a place. You can actually ensure the construction right from when it starts. Just imagine that you're building and another earthquake hits you and you lose everything. Or another flood hits you, or there's another cloud burst. So you ensure the building, you ensure the building process. You also build in a one-time shifting allowance. When people move from one house to another after a year and a half, you put in some money there as part of your program. It's a very small amount, but it makes a lot of difference when people are actually shifting. Then there are a whole set of communication, training material that needs to be generated so people understand what the house is like, what are their options, costing, construction details, Masonry training for beneficiaries, including for women, is very successful. In Odisha, we've had cases where women's groups were trained as masons and they actually have gone ahead and rebuilt their own houses. Imagine the sense of ownership that comes in a process like that, and to have very robust grievance redressal mechanism is important. People have complaints, they have questions, they need to know where to go to, and they need to get responses in time. Next. So typically in a owner-driven reconstruction process, the payments, let's say the budget that the government decides for reconstruction is 60,000 rupees or 3 lakhs, whatever it may be. You divide the tranches. So typically you get the first tranche when you sign the agreement, and then based on different stages of construction, it could be plinth, lintel, roof, or something else. And this is typically linked with verification of a certain quality and minimum standards at every level. So let's say the beneficiary has not really built the plinth to quality, you can in a way force him to correct what he's done wrong before he gets the second payment. So that kind of ensures, that's a sort of inbuilt mechanism to ensure quality of construction. There are of course other mechanisms to do it, but this is, like I said, just to give you a snapshot. Next. Now typically when you're looking at, especially relocation sites, there's the whole challenge of site infrastructure. Sometimes these sites don't have access, so people improvise and they may encroach on forest land or other land and create a road for themselves. But there has to be a proper site access infrastructure, and this sometimes has to be budgeted for separately. It's not part of the house reconstruction. There are issues like internal roads, drains, water tanks, electricity supply, and then community infrastructure like schools, public health centers, anganwadis, community halls, and also lesser important but actually very important things like plantation of trees, and we have to be careful about the kind of species we plant. We need to make sure that these species or these trees don't fall on the houses in the next cyclone. And then there's also an important, I call it a social site infrastructure, and I've just listed 2 things here. One is a village water sanitation solid waste management committee. And this typically happens where people are moving into new houses, but they're also adopting new practices. So often people don't have toilets earlier, and now toilets are part of the new habitat, and we have to know how to manage them, keep them clean, have water supply. And then in places where people have, or we are rebuilding the same location, those villages may also require development initiatives, and we look at a mechanism called the village development plans that help in a participative way for people to identify what are the different interventions they want to improve their life. It could very simply be a small flood shelter because that area is prone to flooding, or it could be a facility like a school or anything that they choose. Next. And then there is lots of household level infrastructure that one has to keep in mind. There's electricity connections, water connections, soak pits, space and support for plantation of kitchen gardens, small gardens for their puja requirements. Household energy is a major issue in terms of cooking stoves, also in terms of solar lighting solutions. And typically we insure homes for a very small amount actually for a period of 10 years and up to 14 disasters. And these aspects actually complete the house and make it a livable place where people shift in. And next. And finally, a kind of formal handover where people in most cases, when you're looking at owner-driven housing construction, people have partly moved in while the house is in construction, and that's one of the advantages. But there has to be a formal handover to people. And here again, some of these formalities take time. But unless you don't have a formal handover, we don't really consider like the project is complete. So, yeah, this was my listicle for housing reconstruction, and maybe, yeah, if anybody has questions.
Thank you.